Right. Okay, we are good to make a start. Okay, welcome everyone to this book reading class on 7 mindsets for success, happiness, and fulfillment. Today we are doing 46th session in this series of book reading classes, and we have covered quite a ground. Let's make a start. As usual, we will start the class with a prayer. First, let's thank our gurus before making a start. Let me chant the prayer. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisance unto him. Okay. Session overview. Today, as usual, we will first look at book overview just to, grab an idea on how far we have reached. It motivates, isn't it? Just to see how we have progressed. It has taken quite some time for us to reach to this level. We have understood lot of concepts. So we'll just look at what we have done, the book overview. Then we will look at the recap, what we did in the last class, what did we learn, so that we can connect the dots. And we will jump into book reading. Today we will be reading from page number 137 to 139. If you want to grab hold of your hard copy, you can do so, because we will be reading from the book as it is. Then after completing the book reading, we will look at Swamiji's video to reinforce the knowledge, to understand the knowledge better. When Swamiji will talk about it with few more examples, it will be more and more clear to us. Then we will do quiz, which will also be the summary of the class. Quiz and summary will happen separately, but yeah, summary will also be there. Then we will try to have some discussion depending on time, and we will end the session with some takeaway for practice during our daily life. How can we implement what we learned, which is very important aspect of learning. Let's move on. So book overview. As I said, we have covered quite a ground. We have covered the first 4 chapters already. Introduction, the mindset of positive thinking, the mindset of taking responsibility for our emotions, the mindset of inspiration. Having learned all these very important aspects of mindset, now we are into the mindset of purity of intention. And here also we are just inching close to the end. We have, since I think last and last to last class, we have been learning about the concept of karma yoga, the science of work, because we learned that the stress that we experience in our life, which is modern day disease that most of us are experiencing, what is the cause of that, what is the root cause of that? We understood that it is just attachment to the results, and now we are just trying to understand how we can eliminate that attachment. And karma yoga, which is explained in Bhagavad Gita by Lord Krishna, Swamiji is explaining us how we can utilize this tool that God has given us to eliminate that stress from our life. And we continue on those lines to learn how we can practice the presence of God today. Let's look at what we learned last time. Last time was also a power packed class with so many learnings on how we can practice karma yoga. So we saw we can make eating an offering for the pleasure of God by thinking the body is a vehicle with which I serve God. I must remain strong so that I can engage in bhakti with it. As a result, let me eat healthy food to take good care of my body. This is one kind of thought that we can hold in our mind, one kind of mindset during eating. One more alternative to make eating an offering to God. I have offer I have offered this food to the Lord. He has eaten it and left his remnants for me to consume. It's now his prasad, which has been touched by his lips. Let me eat while remembering his grace and thereby enhance my devotion. Wonderful thought to consecrate the act of eating. So, this is how you can bring God into picture while eating. Another activity that we engage in is sleeping. How can we make sleeping? These are only few examples that Swamiji has included in this book, but every act, Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, even blinking eyes, you have to do it, with the remembrance of God, with the offering, by making it an offering to God. Attach some reason so that it becomes an offering to God. So we can make sleeping an offering for the pleasure of God by thinking, my body is exhausted. I will sleep so that it gets refreshed. And then tomorrow again I can engage in bhakti. This is one mindset. The other way, I need to fulfill the physical requirement of the body to sleep. O Lord, please come in my dream and enhance my devotion. One more way of thinking to make sleep an offering for the pleasure of God. Then one more routine mundane activity is sweeping at home, right? And instead of looking at sweeping or any other household chores that we do as a burden, people are spoiling the house and I need to do all this work again and again, cleaning all the stuff. Instead of thinking that way, which is kind of a negative mindset, we have to make it an offering for the pleasure of God by thinking, my soul beloved Lord Krishna will be coming to my home. Let me clean it well to make this abode fit for his dwelling. Right? So imagine Shri Krishna is going to come, and when he comes, how you want the house to look like so that he feels pleased. Then the practice of Karma Yoga requires the fulfillment of one important condition, very, very important condition, very, very important condition, which is the fundamental thing in this practice, which is constant remembrance of God. So we have this expression has been repeated and emphasized above everything else in Bhagavad Gita. If you read Bhagavad Gita from the beginning till the end, you will see at many places it is mentioned. The same thing is mentioned again and again in different ways. So this is a very, very important instruction that we need to remember, constant remembrance of God. Shri Kripaluji Maharaj wrote, मन हरि में तन जगत में कर्म योग ये ही जान. Kabir also said, remember God as a cow remembers a calf. It grazes grass in the field all day, but keeps its mind on the calf. Wonderful example. I think these are some very powerful examples that somehow we are getting access to. Some powerful examples from realized saints, and we get many more such examples from Swamiji Maharaj ji, which makes an impact in our life to remember how it needs to be practiced. So cow remembers its calf throughout the day as it grazes. It goes everywhere in the field, but at the same time, in its consciousness, it still has its calf. So that is how we have to also remember God throughout the day. So these are the various things that we learned, even scratching head. Maharaj ji says, even scratching head, you can make it an offering to God by thinking that Lord Krishna is looking at me and feeling amused how this fellow is scratching his head. In by thinking that way, you make scratching your head also as an offering to God. Here in this example, Shabari used to every day clean her house, thinking that Lord Ram, Sri Ram, is going to visit her house. Right? So after doing that activity every day, her heart was so cleansed that God really gave her darshan. So this way we have to practice. Let's get into book reading now. So who wants to go for it? In this class, we actually read the the paragraphs from the book and then we try to elaborate on it. So anybody who wants to do the reading right away, please feel free to raise your hand. We will unmute you and you can go ahead and read. Anybody who is interested in reading the paragraphs, I see many new people. Okay, Riyaji, Nalini has already raised their hands. Anybody else also interested in reading can keep your hand raised. We will definitely give you opportunity. Depending on number of people, we will adjust. So let's give chance to Riyaji. Oh, Riyaji lowered her hand, so let's give it to Nalini ji for now.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Go ahead, Nalini ji.
Okay, practice of the presence of God. Throughout our waking state, we have constant awareness of ourselves. I am eating, I am walking, I am thinking, I am sleeping, I am speaking, etc. We must now add the perception of the presence of God to our consciousness. I am not alone. God is always with me. Sri Krishna is watching me. He is my witness and my protector. In fact, God is everywhere and all-pervading, but we forget to realize his presence. Now we need to make space for him in our awareness and practice realizing his constant presence with us. Most of us do acknowledge the presence of God when we visit a temple, church, mosque, gurdwara, synagogue, etc. However, we forget him as soon as we walk out of there. This partial concept that God is present only in a place of worship affects our attitude. It makes us develop a double standard, be virtuous and devotional in the temple, but when outside it, do as you wish. Because we limit our experience of God to just the temple, we lower our standard of good behavior. Instead, if we realize that the whole world is his temple and he's watching everywhere, we would never indulge in sin anywhere. At all times, we would keep a high standard of ethics and morality. Thank you.
Okay.
Radhe Radhe.
Thank you, Nalini ji. Radhe Radhe. Yes. So here Swamiji is explaining that we are constantly doing one or the other thing, right? And we, while doing so, we have this awareness. I am eating, I am walking, I am thinking this, I am, May, I am speaking. That is there in our consciousness strongly, right? We never forget that I, that is always there. Now, he is asking us to add along with this I into your consciousness someone else, also one more person, that is God. I am not alone. He is with me. He is watching me. Now, this seems to be really difficult for us, but if you think a little bit deeper about this, see, sometimes it does happen with us that we are sitting and doing something, and we see that someone else, we see or we feel by some sounds that we heard that somebody is there in the other room also. As soon as we make such an approximation or such an assumption, our consciousness changes and we start holding that in our consciousness that I am not alone. I am sitting here doing this work, but at the same time, somebody else is also there. They might not, someone might not be there in the other room, really. But since we, generated some thought and we were able to add that aspect into our consciousness that somebody else is also there. Now constantly consciously we think that I am not alone, somebody else is also there. So that level of, you know, awareness, or that feeling at the conscious level that somebody else is also there, is something that we need to bring in here. I think it seems to be complicated, it seems to be difficult, but if we can put a little bit thought around it and practice it, I think it will be possible. I think this is where our sadhana comes into picture. How are we doing sadhana so that we increase our levels of awareness, our consciousness, and we are able to, do such practices. So I think we can do this, and we have to bring the other person also into our conscious level. As soon as we start doing that, we start feeling always constantly that somebody else is also there along with me. We will not do the wrong activities, like Swamiji is mentioning in these paragraphs. We practice double standards. Since childhood we have practiced this. We think that God is in the temple, maybe while standing in front of God at home or in the temple, we feel that someone is there, he is there, I should not do anything wrong, not utter anything, not think anything also. Not just about external doings, wrongdoings, but also at internally also we don't we avoid generating negative or bad thoughts. But when we go out of that place, we start again indulging in bad activities. So this double standard is what we have been practicing, and it has come to us to such a level that we have developed this wrong attitude. It is automatically happening to us, but now we have to do the reverse. We have to start practicing presence of God, and automatically, as soon as you will do that, you will start correcting all your wrong behaviors, negative mindsets that we have developed. Okay, let's move on. Who wants to go next?
Yeah. Radhe Radhe Ganeshji and
Yeah,
everyone.
Radhe Radhe.
How can we implement this technique in our daily routine? Let us say you go to your office and sit on your chair in the morning. Before beginning work, stop for a moment. First, visualize God seated on a chair in one corner of the room. Think Sri Krishna is watching me. All I'm doing is for his pleasure and in his service. Now begin your work. Since you're not yet an accomplished karma yogi, it is natural that as you get engrossed in your work, you will forget God. Never mind. After an hour, stop work for a moment and again think. He's watching me. He's saying, hey, you were supposed to keep your mind in me. What have you started thinking? In this way, your consciousness that had slipped will again get uplifted. The stream of fruitless thoughts that had begun flowing in your mind will stop. Keep practicing in this manner every hour. Once you have solidified the practice at intervals of 1 hour, increase the frequency to every half an hour. When that is achieved, increase the frequency further to intervals of 15 minutes. With constant practice, you will reach a stage where you will continuously feel the presence of God with you. Very nice. Radhe Radhe.
Okay, Radhe Radhe Riya ji. Yes, so Swamiji is giving us a step by step systematic method of practicing, and he has picked up one very important aspect of our life, that is working in office. He mentions in one of the videos, I remember, that office is the place where you will be spending 1/3 of your life. 1/3 of your life you will spend on your bed sleeping, 1/3 of your life you'll be spending in office, and 1/3 of your life at home or everything else. social life, personal life, family, everything else. One third of your life means a big, huge amount of time that you are spending. And I think most of the things, maybe positive, maybe negative, we carry back from office to home into our personal life. So we have to be really, really cautious of what we are doing, how we are doing things at office. And here is a very good method, wonderful way to safeguard yourself, not only from picking up the wrong habits, but also to practice something which is going to elevate you, take you in the positive direction, and that is presence of God. He says that when you go to office, find a corner or a chair around you which seems to be empty. If there is no empty chair, maybe you think you see a desk, and think that comfortably God is sitting there, maybe in his Bal Krishna form or in any other form, sitting and observing you. Imagine that, first visualize that. Once you visualize that to such an extent that you are able to bring him into your consciousness, then things will start changing. Obviously we are not yet that accomplished yogis, so start with 1 hour. Every 1 hour, I think it is very much possible. Every 1 hour, maybe use some gadgets initially to start with. Even more simple is maybe use some band, wristband, or something, or a smartphone alarm, vibration, something which reminds you, gives you an indication that this is time for you to stop and think about the presence of God. Once you have done it for every hour, you are able to successfully follow that routine, then reduce the frequency, 30 minutes, 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, successfully at every stage. As you keep moving, imagine what kind of change will happen. The change will be really great, and you will have God always in your consciousness, that at that place Shri Krishna is sitting and watching me. And that constant remembrance of God will completely change your consciousness, because he is pure pavanam pavananam. He will purify you, he will change your consciousness from material consciousness to divine consciousness. As soon as you have this divine consciousness, your behaviors, the way you do your work, everything will automatically start changing. So I think this is a very systematic practice, step by step, but you can customize it for your use. You can add few other aspects, like I mentioned, a band, a vibration, an alarm in your smartphone, or you definitely drink water, right? If you're not drinking, maybe add that as something, you know uh, every time you hold the bottle and take a sip, bring the thought of God at that time. So something you can customize it also. You can create your own way. If you can do that, and if you can practice it, definitely a great change is going to happen, because this is what has been emphasized throughout Bhagavad Gita. This is one message that has been repeated again and again several times in Bhagavad Gita. So this is a key, and we have to master it. Okay, let's go ahead. Who wants to go for it? Anybody else? Anybody new who wants to read the paragraphs? It will be wonderful to hear you. I'm sure we have many readers, good readers. It's okay. I mean, even if you think you are not a great reader. Nitinji, yes, let's give chance to Nitinji, and
Yeah.
Payalji,
Radhe
you
Radhe
can also
Guruji.
keep your hand raised. Radhe Radhe Nitinji, what you can do is you can complete this story part till runs, and then we will give chance to Payalji to read the last paragraph.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
Purity of intention removes stress. We
Here,
had
here.
this.
Sorry to interrupt you. Purity of intention, remove stress is the next section which we will cover next time. Here,
Okay.
this we can compare the above technique. That's
Okay.
where we have to start. Yeah.
Sure. We can compare the above technique with the game of cricket. When a test cricketer comes to the crease to bat, he surveys the field. The reason is that fast bowlers ball takes less than half a second to cross the 22 yards of the pitch. So after the bowler releases the ball, there is not enough time for the batsman to see where the fielders are standing before hitting the ball. That, that is why prior to taking his stance, the batsman looks at the field that has been set for him by the opposing team captain. Then, with the positions of the 11 players in his mind, the batsman faces the bowler. When the ball reaches him, he skillfully guides it between two fielders. The commentator screams, "The batsman has found the gap in the field. The ball has been placed between mid wicket and mid on and is crossing the boundary for 4 runs." How did the batsman accomplish such a skillful task? By keeping the position of the 11 fielders in his mind and then playing his shot. The practice
Uh-huh.
of Karma Yoga is far simpler than that. It does not require us to keep 11 personalities in our mind. Simply remember one, your eternal father, at all times and do your work.
Great. Thank you,
Radhe Radhe
Nitin ji.
Ganesh.
Radhe Radhe. Payal ji, you can read the last paragraph again. It's good to reiterate. Let's give chance to Payal ji also.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you.
Hmm.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
How did the batsman accomplish such a skillful task? By keeping the positions of the 11 fielders in his mind and then playing his shot. The practice of Karma Yoga is far simpler than that. It does not require us to keep 11 personalities in our mind. Simply remember one, your eternal father, at all times and do your work. Thank you so much, Radhe Radhe.
Great. Thank you. How to practice Karma Yoga in the previous paragraphs, theoretical information. But here, Swamiji is now adding, as usual, the way he writes, he is adding a practical example also. Definitely, the next step is for us to do the practicals in our life. But before that, Swamiji is putting so much effort to help us understand the concepts, to take them beyond just the books and use them in our life. I have even, before coming to JK, I've been reading books, but I can see a great change how his main focus is on implementation. Implementation is what is going to transform your life, right? And all the examples that he's bringing, wonderful examples with the intent how the sadhaks can transform this knowledge and implement it in their life. In the previous paragraphs, he explained how at office we can practice it. Some of us can think that it's not so easy, right? I mean, it is very easy to say you practice every hour, but when we go back to office, we only know how difficult it is. Now, here again, he is bringing one more great example. You work in an office under some pressure, but we know the players, cricket players on the field, how much pressure they have in their head, right? We all know. But at the same time, one batsman keeps in his consciousness 11 players, you know, doing fielding around him. If one person can keep in his consciousness 11 players at the same time, remember that that fellow is standing there, this fellow is standing there. Is it really difficult for us to keep one person in our consciousness? It is not at all difficult. Only thing is some correction, some factor is missing, which we only have to identify. It may be something specific to us only, our personality only. It is part of that practice, that sadhana that we do. So if we contemplate enough, if we practice enough, maybe it is just the practice aspect only. We are not sufficiently practicing, and just after trying it for few hours or few days, we are just giving up. maybe that is the element, but we have to do that practice and understand what is that factor which is missing. He keeps emphasizing about the deliberate practice. If you would have watched some of his videos, deliberate practice means you have to continuously practice, and at the same time you have to think what is working for me and what is not working for me, and eliminate what is not working for me, and do more of what is working for me, or modify it further, enhance it further. That is deliberate practice. If you do that deliberate practice and keep repeating it, definitely it is going to happen. Here 11 players, one batsman, we can definitely keep one great person, that is God himself in our consciousness. And that is with resolve, with conviction, with discipline, with repetition, with deliberate practice, we will definitely able to achieve mastery. It is just a matter of practice. So with that, let's move on. We are done with reading. Quickly, a few announcements. Obviously, Swamiji is now in US. His tour is going on in various cities, and today he is in Sunny Valley, California, I think. So you have details in the website also. He is there till today, and after that he is going to go to various other places. And if you are living at any place close to these places, uh, do take chance to go and meet him personally, see him, hear him, talk to him. You will get opportunity to talk to him. It will be a wonderful opportunity, and maybe one opportunity of your lifetime which will change your life. So don't miss that opportunity. And I would like to just request all of you to contribute on my fundraiser page for JKU. You all know one big project that Swamiji is driving, and that is JKU, Jagat Guru Kripaluji University, which is going to bring a great change in our society. So let's see how we can contribute. If you want to contribute by donating money, you can do so through my page. Let me just quickly post this link in the chat box also. That way you will contribute to a great cause, one of the big causes. So let's go ahead and watch Swamiji's video. Let me stop sharing slides, and I will share the video screen.
Most of us bow down our head with reverence when we visit the temple. That's because we feel before us the presence of God. However, when we leave the temple, we release that divine consciousness as well. We need to make amends here and learn to live our entire day in that divine consciousness by practicing the presence of God. The Vedas inform us, Dva suparna sayuja sakhaya samanam vriksham parikhasvajate. There is a tree. Two birds are sitting on the tree. The first bird is busy eating the fruits. Sometimes it gets a sweet fruit, it is happy. Sometimes it tastes a bitter fruit and is miserable. The second bird is merely watching. It is a friend of the first bird, but it doesn't interfere. If the first bird either does a left about turn or a right about turn and faces its friend, all its miseries will cease. The first bird is the soul, that is us, in this tree which is the body. The second bird is the Supreme Soul, our Creator, God, who is also seated in the hearts of all living beings. God is noting our karmas. He is not interfering. If only we can bring Him back to our consciousness, we will then learn to live in the presence of God. Consider, for example, you go to office, you sit down for your work. Now, you are going to get engrossed, but for a moment, stop, recollect yourselves, and think God is sitting in front. It's a fact. He is all pervading. He is Ghat Vasi, as we all accept. He is ever watching us. Besides, He is in the heart. Take Him out from there and make Him sit on the empty chair in front. Then begin your work. And as you get engrossed, it's natural you will forget about Him. But after an hour, again stop for a moment and recollect yourself. God is watching me. Hey, what had you started thinking? In this way, our consciousness, which had started slipping from the divine to the mundane, will again get elevated. Like this, keep practicing after every 1 hour, the presence of God. And when you have reached a certain level of consistency, increase it to every half hour, and then to every 20 minutes, and slowly try and reach this point where you can always feel the presence of God with you. This practice doesn't need any japamala. It doesn't need any external ostentation. Now, if to remember God always, you were to take the rosary beads to your office, your friends would create anxiety for you. You've become a big Mahatma. Which Baba's lectures do you hear nowadays? But the sadhana, I am telling you, can be done quietly without revealing to anybody else. And its advantages, it will prevent you from doing wrong. How? Let's say a man is going to commit sin, thinking he is alone. His neighbor comes from behind and pats him on the back. Arey bhai Ramesh, what are you doing here? Ramesh sees Dinesh is around. He hides himself. Oh no, I was feeling bored, I was just taking a walk. Seeing that he was not by himself, he desisted from sin. If we too can realize that we are not alone, our eternal Father is always with us, we will think many times before committing sin. So this is the sovereign recipe for fixing our consciousness. It is all a matter of practice. I like to give the example of cricket. When Virat Kohli descends on the field to bat, he surveys the fielding that has been set by the opposing captain. Because the cricket ball is going to cross the 22 yards in less than half a second. That is the speed of the fast bowler's bowling. There will not be sufficient time for the batsman to survey the field and then to bat. So he keeps 11 fielders in his mind when he stands at the crease. And when the ball comes, he hits it skillfully The commentator is left screaming. He has pierced the field between mid-wicket and long on, and the ball is crossing the boundary for 4 runs. Now, what did that cricketer do? He kept 11 fielders in his mind. If we can only learn to keep God with us, we will reach the state of Karma Yoga that has been described in the Bhagavad Gita, and we'll find our consciousness is flying at the divine levels. So this is the practice I would like to suggest to you on the 7th day of the Life Transformation Challenge, and we shall continue from here in our journey for the remaining episodes.
Let me start sharing my slides again. So Swamiji very nicely explained again all the concepts that we learned from the book, how we can practice remembering God all the times, systematic practice. If you want to watch this video on YouTube, you can find it with this title, Practice This Consciousness to Achieve the Ultimate Goal of Life. It is the 7th Day of Life Transformation series. Okay, let's move on. So before we go to the summary, let me hand it over to Darshan Bhaiya for doing the quiz.
Radhe Radhe Bhaiya, am I audible?
Yes, you are audible, clear, loud.
Okay. Is my screen visible now?
Yes, it is visible.
Okay. Okay, I have shared the link for the quiz in the chat box. So please join the quiz.
Yeah, you all can click on that link. It will open in the browser and you will be able to join the quiz. We already have 4 people who have joined. Few more people who are there in the session can also join. Okay.
Okay, do we have any more participants or shall I continue?
Let me just see. Anybody facing difficulty in joining the quiz? I think we have 7, so 6 people. Anyone else who wants to still join the quiz?
We have total 9 participants today, and out of that
7.
6 have joined.
Okay, let's move ahead then.
Okay. Okay, the first question is, what is the unique advantage of Karma Yoga? What should be the attitude while we are involved in earning money? How to implement Karma Yoga while eating? How to overcome Maya as per the Saint Uddhav. True or false? Sleeping is a routine activity that can be transformed into spiritual service by Karma Yoga. What is the one important condition to fulfill the practice of Karma Yoga as per the Bhagavad Gita? Now, here you are required to write the answer.
One condition. Mhm.
To practice presence of God, what is the change required at the level of consciousness? Why do we have double standards of ethics and morality despite practicing all religious rituals? How to practice presence of God at each and every place? In comparison of a batsman with a karma yogi, the practice of karma yoga is simpler. Why? Payal ji, Nalini ji, and Harsh Bhaiya. Good job.
Very good. Payal ji, Nalini ji, and Harsh ji. Done a great job. Uh, Darshan Bhaiya, can you check in quiz if there is an option for you to just at the end after completing the quiz display what were the questions just by scroll and what were the correct answers for those questions? I think it will benefit the participants just to know what was the correct answer. Just one question where condition. What is one condition in Karma
But
Yoga
that,
practice?
that was a open-end question. So
Hmm.
whatever a participant feels, they have to write it. So
Right, right.
there are no answer from my side for that particular question.
Hmm.
Answer was simple: to remember God at all times.
Yes.
Constant remembrance of God.
God. That was the answer for that question. And for other questions also, maybe people will have some doubt in their mind. So it will help them to, if there is an option, otherwise we'll
Okay,
see
okay,
what to
okay.
do. So that, they can carry the right answers with themselves.
Okay, Bhaiya, I will keep that in mind.
Yeah, check if there is an option. If it is already there, we just have to display it maybe.
Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you, Darshan Bhaiya, for creating the quiz for us. Let's move on. So let's quickly do the summary of what we have learnt today. Today in this class, we learned we must add the perception of the presence of God to our consciousness. God is everywhere and all pervading, but we forget to realize his presence. And this partial concept that God is present only in a temple and God is present only in a place of worship affects our attitude. If we realize that the whole world is his temple and he is watching us everywhere, we would never indulge in sin anywhere. At office, first visualize God seated on a chair in one corner of the room. Think Shri Krishna is watching me. All I am doing is for his pleasure and in his service. Then begin your work. It is natural that as you get engrossed in your work, you will forget God. This is natural. Never mind. After every hour, think again. He is watching me. He is saying, hey, you were supposed to keep your mind in me. What have you started thinking? Once you have solidified the practice at intervals of 1 hour, increase the frequency to half an hour and then so on. If maybe 50, 30 minutes, 15 minutes, 10 minutes, like that. With constant practice, you will reach a stage where you will continuously feel the presence of God with you. The practice of Karma Yoga is far simpler than the practice by batsmen in cricket match. It doesn't require us to keep 11 personalities in mind. Simply remember one, your eternal father at all times and do the work. These were the concepts that we have learned today. Quickly, what can we take away? What can we practice during the week and before we come to the next session? It is very important to keep practicing all the concepts so that we can internalize the knowledge. What can we practice? Practice presence of God at work as explained by Swamiji. Increase the frequency 1 hour, 30 minutes, 15 minutes, and so on, however you are able to do. Maybe you may have to practice for the whole week with 1 hour. After that, maybe you will do 30 minutes, however it works for you. Do that. Let's make a resolve that we will practice this and let's see who reaches the highest frequency. It's a challenge. Let's come back next time and we will discuss around this how much we were able to do, what was our frequency. Let's hear the success stories and feel motivated. With that, we still have 4 minutes. If anybody wants to add any comments or share any point which is related to what we have read today, their experience or anything that helps all of us in the spiritual satsang, you can raise your hand. We will give you opportunity. Or if you have any questions related to what we have learned today. Don't worry, don't hesitate. Feel free to share if you have anything to share. You never know, it can help significantly some soul. Okay, it seems like we do not have anything else. Darshan Bhaiya, do you want to share anything?
No, Bhaiya. Even quiz I had kept it short for today because every time we are going overtime.
Right, right.
So
Yeah, that's fine.
yeah, till we don't have a next session coming up, we have the time.
Right. Yeah.
And more or
And
less the concept are getting repeated. So even the quiz is getting simpler. Today we had many new participants, but still all were able to answer correctly.
yes,
Yeah,
it
but
was very important for us to do the sessions on this particular topic. Three small sessions. I mean, the book itself had, I think, two sections devoted, one for karma yoga and and the other one for practicing presence of God. And I wanted to not rush and cover them in small bits so that we spend sufficient time and internalize the knowledge and remember it for a longer period so that we can practice.
We have,
Harshji, yeah,
okay.
Radhe Radhe Ganeshji.
Radhe Radhe Harshji.
I had a question regarding the session today. So, when it comes to implementation,
Hmm.
it is clear that at every interval we should try to think about the presence of God and so on. But my question is, do we also need to monitor this somewhere? Like for example, let's say yes, because I think it would allow for some sort of reflection that, for example, last Sunday, how many times did I, how many times did I miss on a
Hmm.
particular at every particular hour? Let's say if you're doing
Hmm.
at 2 p.m. you did not do it and something like that. Because I think that would become tedious, but I think it would also allow for more reflection. So I wanted to know your thoughts on that.
No, no, whatever you mentioned is absolutely correct. I think so. I mean, you have already answered your question. Doing whatever it helps you in your practice is beneficial only. At the end of the day, see what you're trying to do is you're not only trying to practice, but also trying to assess yourself, right? You want to see at the end of the day how successfully was I able to practice what I laid out. I think it will make you more and more aware. You will practice, you will go back, revisit, and see what worked for me, what did not work for me, and then you will come up with some more ideas, some modifications to your practice, and then you will go back again. So this is what I think is deliberate practice, which Swamiji emphasizes. But I think it's a great question for everyone on it's not simply just going and practicing, but you can think about ways of enhancing it also, like Harshji mentioned. We can add assessing also. I think it's a good idea. And I just want to make one more point that we have SMX, Swami Mukundananda exclusive forum where people who are interested in talking to Swamiji directly and ask such questions and receive some very appropriate answers for those questions. They have joined this forum, and once in 2 weeks he conducts that session on Zoom call, and people get a chance to talk to him directly. So do take that opportunity. I think Darshanji, if you have a link for that, maybe you can post it for the benefit of people who are there on the call. Harshji at least will get benefited if he is not already in SMX.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
Just a minute, Bhaiya.
yeah, sure. But I think I have something in my last slide. Yes. So this is the website actually, Harji, uh, www.smeexclusive.org. If you search it in Google also, you will get it. And this is a forum where Swamiji you can directly talk to him I mean, along with everybody, people easily get chance to talk to him.
I
Okay,
have,
with that, yeah, you have posted
yeah, particularly for Harsh, Bhaiya.
Harji. Okay, okay, fine. That's fine. So with that, we are done with this the session today. Uh, I hope all of you had a good learning today. With that, we will conclude the session and do come again next Sunday at the same time. Thank you. Radhe Radhe, everyone.